Feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Hello and welcome back to the video wrap-up show for the Shrimp Tank podcast in Seattle. I'm Dan Whedon, and I'm joined today by all of my hosts. We had a very special fifth week hosts only special where we discussed networking and marketing and sales in a virtual and digital world. Now listen, to catch the entire episode, and I recommend that you do, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find it on YouTube as well, the entire thing. So please visit shrimptankpodcast.com Seattle, subscribe there, subscribe on YouTube, find us on our Facebook page. Everybody, today we had a great conversation about everything related to business networking in a new virtual world. I want to ask each of you the same question. What was your biggest takeaway? What resonated with you most from today's podcast? James, how about I start with you?
Well, a lot of things actually resonated, but one of the things that really stands out, Michelle made the point near the end where you asked, hey, if this happened again, would your company survive and what would you do? And one of the things she mentioned was, what are you doing in this world to make sure your culture of the company is not lost in the virtual world? I mean, we've talked about Zoom fatigue and that sort of thing and the loss of connection. Well, really the question is, if you want your people to be effective at the things that they did in person, well, how are you keeping them happy and motivated just within the company, within the culture? And I think it involves creativity. It involves thinking outside of the box a little bit. And I think it involves consistency, whether that means, every once in a while playing some online games or something. What kind of team building, virtual team building activities have you thought about? Even if we are going back to normal, a lot of people will probably end up being somewhat of a hybrid situation. And the last thing you want is for the people who are kind of still in that virtual world to feel disconnected from the people that have chosen to be back in person. So, that really stood out with me. What are you doing to preserve and maybe even enhance their culture in this particular virtual world?
Hey, thanks, James. Well, James, since James talked about Michelle, why don't we have you go second?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. For me, there was a theme across, I think, all of our conversation today around the creativity that organizations found in translating what they used to do in person and what they need to do online, and whether that's through sales, as James talked about, or consulting with clients and working with teams, as Phil talked about. The idea of taking what you do well, understanding what that is, and translating that into a virtual environment, and being really aware of the effectiveness of the work that you're doing with your internal team, your external team, your networking partners, by using small groups, video, interactive sessions, Zoom happy hours. All those things are creative ways to stay connected at a time when we felt really disconnected.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Phil, bring it on home.
Well, sure. I want to build on both what James said in terms of culture and Michelle with working with teams, but simplify it to the nuts and bolts and mechanics of things. And so my hobby is photography, but I really didn't start taking good pictures until I had mastered the equipment. So the equipment was invisible, and now I could just do what I wanted to do. And first impressions especially are still important and real in a virtual environment. So it's the basics of have your camera at eye level so that you're looking people in the eye. Have a light in front of you, and for goodness sakes, don't have a window behind you, right? Use a microphone or AirPods. The audio quality difference is fantastic. And have a clean background or set. It's part of your image. And before, we used to have to wash the car and Armani suit and briefcase and shoes and all that stuff. Life's a lot easier in some respects now. And then smile and crank up your energy, because we've got to transmit that energy through electrons magically, sometimes halfway around the world.
Well, thanks to all of you. Hey, really quickly, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. James, we'll start with you. How do people contact you if they'd like to learn more about you?
Appreciate you asking. Well, the website is there in the background. It's www.toptier.sandler.com. Probably the best way to reach me, or my direct email would be james.alberson@sandler.com.
Michelle.
Yeah, our website is equinox.law or equinoxbusinesslaw.com. And my email address is michelle@equinoxbusinesslaw.com.
And Phil.
Sure. So my website is smewealthbuilder.com and my email is phil@smewealthbuilder.com.
All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody. For all of you watching, please join us July 7th at 12 p.m. Pacific for our live stream broadcast on our Facebook page. Our guest next week will be Kara McKeege from Pepper's Personal Assistance. My co-host is going to be Michelle Baumberger. Thanks again for joining us. So until we meet again, be healthy, be prosperous, have fun, because for right now, the shrimp is back in the tank. So long.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond, and the shrimp